The most important faith, this will sound contradictory in a sense, but we can explore it a bit to see if we can dig under it. The most important faith is actually the faith in self. Now, the question would be, why would I say that? And I would suggest that this is true for Christianity as well, though it might not have been intellectually acknowledged at this point. Now, Ted's nodding his head. So, Ted, what did you're nodding? So there must be a reason for the nod.
Yeah, I got a star twinkle in my mind when you said faith in self. And what came to mind was I got to believe in myself before that I can believe that anything else is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got to have that proprioception. It all emanates or comes from here, uh, which includes the infinite, which is the spherical. So without faith in myself, nothing else can exist.
It's an interesting thing. Are you familiar with, did we talk about this before, solipsism? Solipsism it's a very rational belief on a certain level. It's like rationalism to its extreme. If I ask myself very, very honestly, what is it that I can prove? What is the one thing? What is it that I can actually prove is? I cannot prove that Ted is. I cannot prove that Irene is. Your minds may not exist. Not meaning to be rude, but this is the perspective of solipsism, is that everything is everyone, everything in your life is a projection of your own mind. And the only mind that you can actually prove scientifically to be true is your own. Because every other mind, ultimately, you cannot actually feel or verify, because you have to use your senses to do that, and the senses are illusory. You see it? So the solipsistic point of view is that you are the only provable mind, and that you are the only. It has no faith outside of self. It only has faith in the individual perspective. This is a very left hemisphere. Like if you were to shut off the right hemisphere, or you were to able to tap into the psychedelic trip that the left hemisphere has, it is a solipsistic viewpoint. That you are the only mind. No other mind exists. We assume that other minds exist because we trust our senses. And we've never questioned the idea of the fact that we can prove what we have, that we ourselves perceive, because that's a direct experience we have. We cannot prove our perceptions are true, though, which is why we cannot prove anybody else exists. So this is, in a sense, once we recognize we cannot prove that anybody else exists, the belief that other people exist is a kind of leap of faith. Right? I make this leap of faith that not only does my mind exist, but that my mind exists, the fundamental presence of mind, the essence of being, so to speak, is in the wall, the floor, the ceiling. Like I've gone the extreme opposite of solipsism, that it's everywhere. At that fundamental level, there's no individual identity. It's all shared. Same perspective that look the same presence that sees out these eyes is the presence that sees out Ted's eyes and Irene's eyes, and the thing that vibrates within the atom. The question would be, why? Why did I take that tremendous leap of faith when evidence doesn't suggest that that is the case? And why wouldn't I go with the solipsistic point of view, which is the only thing that I can prove? Why would I accept faith over proof in this case? Doesn't that seem a little bit ridiculous.
And the proof is the input from the senses, which can be illusionary.
Well, that's not proof, right? That's technically not proof, because you
Right.
cannot verify actually. Literally, this all could be a dream.
Right, and that's what I was saying, that is illusion, so it's not really proof. That is the conundrum.
So faith is not backed by proof exactly, but there is something backing faith. Faith is not blind faith is not faith. There is something backing faith. There's a reason why I've gone with faith on all this.
Evidence.
What's the evidence?
Unless you experience it, you can't prove it. You can only, we have a saying.
If you experience it, you cannot prove it.
Yeah. So the proof of the pudding is in the eating. If you don't eat it, then you don't know how it tastes. So you have to go and eat it in order to taste it.
What is the it that we would eat?
I guess it's like jumping off the cliff into the unknown. It's that aspect of the exploration that you don't know what you're going to find.
So you're a little bit abstract here. What I mean is,
yeah.
So I've juxtaposed solipsism and panpsychism. Panpsychism is that there's mind is everywhere. Solipsism is there's only your particular personal mind. And I've gone with panpsychism, essentially. What I see is very close to what other people call panpsychism. It's not exactly the same, but very similar. So we can put it in that category in any case. You're talking about I taste it. What is the it? Tasting solipsism, tasting panpsychism. What are you talking about?
I guess I'm talking about fear, facing the fear, feeling the fear, going into the fear. Unless you do that exploration, you don't know where it's going to take you. So you can see what's underneath the fear.
Yes.
You can feel it. You might see something different about it. It could transform into something else. There's all sorts of possibilities.
Yes. And so it is true that it was through my own exploration of my deepest fears that I've come to see things. I've come to a faith in universal mind. Though I cannot prove it in a way that would satisfy the scientific method. But there's a reason why, and it's a very important reason why I've gone in this particular direction. Because it could have gone the opposite, very easily gone to the solipsistic view.
You want to embody it.
What is the
not
it
just
to embody? We're still being really abstract here, and we're saying it.
Yeah,
it doesn't have meaning.
You talk about faith on the one hand, and on the other hand, this exploration of facing your fear. So how do you do that? You can only do it the way you know how. You can't actually. It will be different for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, and also I think the panpsychism allows for the idea of spherical awareness, and the how you pronounce it, solipsism. Solipsism is more of a bodily a point instead of the spherical, but a point in the spherical.
But what's the value of spherical awareness if it's not provably true? I mean, why not go with the point?
It's infinite. So you can't really prove that.
But then what's the point of it? Why spend so much time practicing spherical awareness? Why so much time practicing the idea or feeling or intuition that presence is ubiquitous, is universal. The thing that's looking through my eyes is the same thing that's looking at your eyes.
We want to be clear.
How does that make one clear?
Uh,
Okay, we're heading in the direction that's functional here, but we got to make it clearer to ourselves. That was so, it's like we want to be clear, but how would that make things clear? And it does. But how does that work?
it's freeing, it's liberating. It allows you in this spherical aware space to perceive or experience from any perspective in the spherical. Did that make sense?
It gives the impression that you were suggesting that I can leap into your body and look at your eyes. But that may not be what you mean, or it may be what you mean.
Okay. Actually, in a very mundane sense, that is what I was saying.
Though I've had such experiences,
Uh-huh.
I cannot
Uh-huh.
verify them to be true. It could just be some, like, since I was a child, I've had mystical experiences, and these mystical experiences can be in a lot of ways very similar to a really deep psychedelic trip. There are
Yes.
differences, generally speaking, depending on the type of psychedelic you use, but you can't verify them to actually be true. There's no way for me to prove them to be true, though they feel totally true when you're experiencing them. That could be a brain trick. Maybe there's some like area of the brain that creates the feeling of truthiness.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So like I'm trying to I'm not trying to prove what I'm saying is true. What I'm trying to do is actually dig under it. I'm trying to disprove what I'm saying. Because if I try to prove that it's true, that's not scientific at all. I can just brainwash myself. So what I'm trying to do is actually dig under it. I'm trying to uproot the value of this perspective as best as possible. Because if I don't have that approach, then I'm just going to fall into some sort of ideology. I'll be blind because I want things to be a certain way. I'm not using spherical awareness because I want things to be that way. I'm using spherical awareness because it's actually very practical. As a martial artist, we can test. That's why you guys come out here for the meditations and the meditation intensives and whatnot, is because we have a testing method that shows the integrity, the body-mind enhancing integrity of the practice of spherical awareness. Do you see it? So you would say, well, maybe that all is an illusion. That's all part of the dream too. Like, someone can grab my fingers. Okay, we have a new student who just came this last Thursday, 6'7", 250 pounds. He's no slacker, but he can grab my fingers and I can do this and lift him off, lift him up on his toes. You guys experienced it to some degree. I don't know if I did it with fingers or not, but it's not a matter of how much that person weighs. It's not a matter of how strong that person is. It's not a matter of how strong their intention is to stop me. They can't help but to lose their balance. I'm not doing anything tricky for that effect. I'm literally just doing this. That also is coming through my senses. That effect could be false, right? That's also going to be part of the dream. So why would I go that route? Now it's consistent. Everybody I practice with, every student I have here is a young, strong, strapping guy, 200 pounds plus my height or taller. It works on all of them, whether they believed it would work or not. It not only makes their movement improved, it improves their ability to think clearly. It improves how they feel about life. It improves their relationships. It improves how they feel about themselves. They find integrity. The only way they can do this movement is by also expanding awareness spherically, taking a leap of faith in positivity. They can do it then. And when they become selfish, they start to have negative thoughts. When they start to have doubt, then they can't do it. Are you guys sensing why I've gone with the panpsychic view?
It still brings me to the word clarity, because what prevents this experience from manifesting in our experience is a conglomeration of fears and doubts and unbelief. So the faith is a removal of the doubts and the fears and the unbeliefs. And in order to remove them, I must first be able to recognize them. And the space from which I can recognize is that expanded, open, spherically aware space.
Yes. And that works because
I have allowed it to be. Because it works, because...
Irene, do you have a sense of why that works?
It enables you to connect to that openness, that space, that universal, I don't know how to describe it, but it enables you individually not just to be you, but to be able to connect to something else that's you're part of, and it's part of you.
Else.
Yeah. So, well, there is no other. So individually, we are no other. So it's to enable that connection.
There is no other. But wouldn't the solipsists say the same thing? Are you starting to smell something here?
Yeah, it works because I have faith.
All right, now this is interesting. So, well, I mean, you could have faith in some pretty unhealthy things that don't work. It's not just that you have faith. Do you see it?
Faith is the substance of it.
I mean, there are lots of people and lots of cultures that have faith in some things that really don't work out very well. Yeah. And you can measure that. You can see the evidence of it very, very easily. There are cultures that are very self-destructive.
Okay. So it seems like we're dealing with different flavors of faith here.
Well, so this is the question. What is faith? What is the one faith that actually sustains, that any evidence that faith can digest in a healthy way any evidence? That faith is not trying to fight anything, and that faith brings clarity, and that faith brings health. What is that faith? Whatever that is the thing that's true.
So faith is God, or whatever you perceive him.
Well, it's that which is true, but it's also that which can never be objectively proven.
Which is God.
From a religious perspective, people would call that God.
Yes.
Right. And so what I'm suggesting is this. I have looked very practically at the experience. Ultimately, you experience your point of view, and that's all you really have. It's the only thing you can actually prove is your perspective, right?
Yes.
The more narrow you get in your perspective, the more confused you will be, the more disharmony there will be in your life, the less healthy you will be psychologically. That affects you physically as well. It affects your relationships. Whether these relationships are true or not, whether you exist or not, I cannot prove that. However, my experience of this dream is much better if I treat you as if you actually exist than if I treat you as if you don't exist. Do you see that?
Yes.
How I feel in my body is much better if I treat you as if you exist than if I treat you as if you don't exist. Similarly, if I treat the entire universe as if it was the same shared fundamental presence that's beyond any particular name, that it's conscious, I don't mean thinking in a logical, humanistic type way, but that it feels and perceives and is present. And I communicate with it as if that were the case. Not to wish for, give me $100,000 or, give me a Ferrari or, make me famous or whatever else people might be praying for, but not in that sense, but just communing with it as if that were the case. My body, my mind, my health, my movement, my everything improves. Everything improves. And the extent at which it can improve, we do not know. But we can see that I've gone from the edge of paralysis to getting stronger and stronger and clearer and by the day. That's it. That's what's happening. That's the proof, quote unquote, in the value of that perception. My faith is in the fact that it grants results for anybody who embraces it without the expectation of results. If you expect results, you're not actually respecting things as if they truly exist.
Yeah.
You're doing it for selfish gain, and you're back to that smallness again.
Yes.
So it's faith in self, but that self is the totality. And then when that faith dials in, you have faith in faith. But your meaning of faith is now different than like everybody else's meaning of faith. It's completely transformed meaning of faith. And then in the end, there's just faith because you don't know. You can't prove objectively that solipsism is true or that panpsychism is true. But with the simple leap of faith every day in as many moments as possible, that this computer also feels, that the table also feels, is present, and treating it as if I love and respect, accept, and appreciate it, acknowledge its being, has an incredible rejuvenating power on the body and the mind and the quality of your life, the quality of your relationships. And you start to have insights into things that you would not have believed you would have insights into. You have a tremendous, vibrant clarity. And that noisy thing within that's constantly struggling and causing trouble starts to quiet. That's it. Now, there's a lot, that's the broad brush, but there's a lot of nuance in that process. Ultimately, your only perception is what your perception is. And it's whatever your perception is with you all the time. So the question is, how can we fundamentally improve the quality of that perception in a way that's not at odds with evidence? You see, we don't know, science doesn't know the nature of reality. Any honest scientist will tell you that, and anyone who says otherwise is just simply not being honest, because we can't get outside the universe to measure it. To measure anything requires something else by which to compare it. right? So the only question I have is so we could say that this is all a hologram and you are the only mind within it. Or we could say it's all a hologram and every mind within is you, not named Ted or Irene specifically, but is that fundamental presence, basically a whole bunch of games playing out simultaneously. It's like a multiplayer game, but that not just people, every animal, every plant, every atom is a perspective, is a unique perspective within the universe, and they're all coming from the same fundamental presence. It's all you. Or you're the only mind. In either case, we cannot prove them. The only question then becomes, what's the most functional perspective? What's the one that allows you to love, respect, accept, appreciate, and trust yourself fully and completely? And feel that universally. The one that is unified.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. You know, it points to, hey, TM, I am aware of my body and my five senses and all that goes on around in here. And then I open up to this spherical awareness, have this broad, open, infinite perspective. And for me to be able to operate optimally, this is the optimal geometry.
Yes.
Total body awareness and spherical awareness.
Yes. Yes. And this realization came from the practicality that's required through the samurai arts training. Like there's no point. There's 0 point from a samurai art training perspective of learning any skill or ability that has no practical value. This is the most practical perspective. Does that make sense? That's why we do it. It's healthy at a fundamental level. Why it's healthy at a fundamental level, I cannot say. I can only speculate that is so because the nervous system and the body has actually developed upon that principle. That's a speculation, however. What I can say is that is the case when we take on that perspective, it becomes the default mode with which we view the world and reality and ourselves. The body and mind start to rejuvenate, start to get stronger, gain clarity. We're not trapped in the little small self-absorbed self. It's as if the ego has opened up. It's not that it dies, it's opened up. It becomes like that Buddha's lotus flower kind of concept. It's not the death of the ego, it's the opening up. People have misunderstood. People have misunderstood that the goal is to kill the ego. That's not the point. I mean, it could be. I mean, that might be your goal, but that won't lead you to the healthy thing I was just talking about. Right? That will not take you in that direction. Where's that? So I've got a cover of the Genesis Code. Unfortunately, they put this proof thing right in the center of the book, which destroys the most beautiful part of it and the thing that makes the whole cover work. But it's Infinite Trials, One Truth, a book about you. I mean, essentially, this is the core understanding that makes the whole process work. This is what this book is about. And this book covers the nuances of it. That we're just right now talking about the basic thinking process behind why I've gone this way, why my therapy system, why the martial arts system, why the meditation system is formed in the way it's formed. And it's because it's practical, and that's the only reason. It's the only way to fully love, respect, accept, appreciate, and trust yourself on all levels. Ultimately, you're still stuck in that solipsistic kind of, the only thing you can prove is you. But that's not necessarily a healthy way to live. It's true that it's the only thing you can prove, but it's not necessarily healthy. Right? It doesn't bring you to optimal health. It's not optimally practical. If I practice my martial art from that perspective, I suddenly cannot do these things that I can do otherwise. Things that other people would say is impossible. I just switch the view. Just take it on faith that everything is living, and feeling, and wanting positivity fundamentally, seeking health fundamentally, seeking balance fundamentally, hoping to be respected fundamentally. And I just grant those things. And suddenly, certain very odd abilities emerge, and body starts to recover, and the mind starts to recover, and we have clarity, and then we can suddenly see why everybody's trapped. What's the paradigm? What's the lens through which they're looking starts to become very obvious. Other people will think that it's strange how you know what's going on. Where is this clarity coming from? And it's just, you've just changed the lens through which you're viewing. That's all. Is that proof that that's the truth? No. Not scientifically. But it is proof. The one thing that is true is the fact that you do perceive. You do perceive. That nobody can argue with. We might argue you have choice or you don't have choice. Irrelevant to me. You perceive. Perception is happening. The next question is, in what way, in what lens filter can you put through that, over that perception that brings the optimal health condition? Love, respect, acceptance, appreciation, and trust. First for yourself, and then as you start to take these leaps of faith, you start to expand to imagine, because it is an imagination on some level, that your presence doesn't just stop here, but that it's universal. And then the next step is, maybe the thing that's looking out Ted's eyes or Irene's eyes is not different than the thing that's looking out my eyes. There's one shared way of being, and that's still healthier. And so you're just tracking this process of health and clarity, and it takes you down a certain path. So there is a path. But the path is not different than you. You and the path are the same thing. You're essentially exploring the nature of you-ness. You see it? Now, does that change the way you see TEM? And if so, how?
It actually gives me a greater appreciation for the process, because as I've progressed through TM over the years, it's like building a house, concept upon concept. And my understanding of the process is becoming broader and clearer and harmonious in how it all fits together and works not only for the good of this individual body here, but for the good of the whole. If I improve here, then the effect is going to be an improvement. And to say improvement on the whole is a misnomer. It's not really correct, because you cannot improve upon perfection. But there is it's clarifying the experience of the experience.
It just,
if that makes
it's like tuning a musical instrument, right? The instrument's already there. There's already vibration going on. It's just that we've refined the vibration so that it becomes melodic rather than disharmonious.
Yes.
And it's not even us that's refined it. It is simply it seems to be following a specific path. Like these are not my ideas. These are explorations that have led me down a very specific path that is actually, in a certain sense, narrow. It's narrow in that if I break, there's a law to it, a code to it. That's why I call it the source code. If I break that law, then now I experience a disharmonious note. It's a detriment to my life and those around me.
Yeah.
And there's no getting around this law. So it's an articulatable law. The path, the law, and the self are the same thing. This is an expression of self. If we look at that which brings your experience of life to its optimal condition, and we follow that, and I mean you're from a perceptive perspective, not by taking such and such a supplement or taking such and such a drug. I don't mean that. I mean, like, this is inner work, right? That becomes transcendent. If we follow this method clearly, the method reveals itself. You don't create it. I didn't create the Total Embodiment Method. I have explored what is practical and functional through perception, and how perception itself, the lenses through which we perceive, affect life, the experience of life, and the experience of perception. And that has led down a very specific path that becomes very, very clear the more you practice it. And then at some point, you start to have an intellectual understanding of the law or the source code. It's like the code of how the psyche works, how perception itself works at a basic level through attitude. And so this isn't a belief system in a sense. There's a difference between faith and belief. This is following a law that if anybody applies to their life sincerely, will have the same effect, the same overall effect. Your life will be better off than it would otherwise be. I don't mean you're going to be, everything's always going to be pleasant all the time. I don't mean that. I mean, it will clearly be better than it would otherwise be. The difficulty is getting people to be honest with themselves. Like, the one thing that seems people don't want to do is actually just be honest and explore sincerely. They want someone to tell them how it is. And they want to conform to what this other person tells them. Unfortunately, there are a million different voices that are all saying different things and labeling them as spirituality. And they don't all mean the same thing. And many people do think, because they don't look clearly, that they all mean the same thing. Well, they're all saying the same thing. Are they really? All right. Thank you so much, Ted. I'll continue with Irene briefly, and then we'll finish off. They may not all be saying the same thing. The faith is, despite all the voices, despite everything that you think that might be unhelpful, I don't mean even false, unhelpful, unhealthy, there is a path to health. There is a path to clarity. And it isn't about what you want. It simply is. But as you follow it, you might fall in love with it. We can say that that which is pleasant becomes more pleasant. We gain access to seeing things that we might not otherwise see. And also that which is unpleasant is less unpleasant.
Well, yeah, precisely. It has the opposite effect, doesn't it? Because you're seeing more pleasantness, you're noticing them more, you're feeling them. But also your attitude is changing, because it's kind of like, oh, I've just seen that in myself for the first time. It's like, yay.
Yes.
It doesn't matter when I see, what's going on. I'm just having fun with it, Richard. That's all I can say.
Fun with it, and it develops a kind of inner strength that you would not otherwise have.
Yeah, and a lot of people I'm changing as a person, as an individual, slowly, It's not always quickly, but it's okay. I've got all the time in the world.
Yes. Yes. So my sincere hope is to see, because all of this realization for me, I did not come to the perspective that I come to by reading books or by listening to what anybody else said, which tells me this isn't a belief system. It's an honest exploration that if anybody goes through this very, very honest exploration, deeper and deeper and deeper, it automatically reveals this path that is functional, like optimally functional, that gets you in touch with the essential you, and that you and the path are not different things.
It certainly does. It works, most definitely. I can see it, I can feel it, and I'm understanding more and more. And it's an ongoing process, and I treasure every moment.
Yeah.
So
and
thank
so
you.
Just get people to explore. One of the great things that I realized that some of my students actually can't come to the upcoming retreat as well, because they've got family vacations and weddings to go to, and like I've timed it like apparently like the worst possible time. But, June 23rd to July 1st. But if we could get some people to come on out and enjoy, I believe they will start to see the relevance of the practicality of the process. I do believe that many people who practice TEM still practice it as if it was just another meditation method, or as if it were a belief system. It's neither of those things.
That's why I think it was so helpful for the people that did come over. We had that first-hand experience,
yes.
Which, like you just said, you can't get it with a book or a video.
Yes. I was very fortunate that Osaka Sensei, my teacher, my martial arts teacher, was interested in exploring this alternative path that was different from what he was doing.
Yeah.
And that he was willing to allow me to explore it, and he was going to test it to the best of his ability, try and stop it to the best of it. Because if he was dishonest about it, I couldn't have refined it to the point where I could then take it out and share it with others. It would still be too much ideologies, too much assumption in there,
It's wonderful, and even sat on the train coming back, I took the Unbound Soul with me on this trip, and I was I like to read so much, and then I put the book down because I like the words and whatever it is that I've understood, I just like it to resonate within me, which is what I was doing. And this woman sat to me, she said, "Oh, is that book good?" I said, "Oh, yes, it's." And so she took a picture. So I just talked a little bit about TEM. I said, anyway, it's worth a try if you're interested. She was from Canada visiting. I don't know if she'll buy it or not, but hey ho. Always passing on the word whenever that a moment just happens organically, that it just happened that my book was there and she looked and asked me the question. So there we go.
Thank you for sharing. And in June 23rd, we don't know how many people will come out here, but in the event that it's just you and me, we're going to make the best of that too.
We certainly will.
Very similar to how Osaka Sensei and I trained then.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Richard.
Documented in the Unbound Soul, if anybody's interested in that. I mean, we probably won't get into that level of advanced training, but the basic principles will be the same. But it would be fun to have many different training partners. Everybody's got a different flavor. So anybody who wants to come is welcome, welcome to come. Yeah. And the possibility of maybe going forward, I'll just have to find better dates. I didn't realize, but that's just after school vacation starts. So families are going out on trips and doing wedding ceremonies and all kinds.
But you never know, Richard, because the summer is what it is. It could be that families take holidays in August or July.
That's just what people have told me here. But I think it might be specifically regarding Oregon, because once July hits, it gets really hot here.
Okay.
So like if
Yeah.
that there's that precious window of like June 21st to July 1st of July where things are still
Yeah.
really nice. And then once like
Yeah.
you get to July 2nd, it's like it gets really hot.
Yeah. So you've got to take advantage of where you are locally
It's
and
a
just
very
use
narrow
that.
window, yeah. If we look at after mid-July, then oftentimes we have the smoke coming in.
That's right. You
That
have a
will stick
problem with
around
that.
for a month or two. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
have any seminars or retreats at that time because there's too much
No,
smoke.
no, no.
Out.
Yeah.
So that leaves September and October potentially. Once you get into October, then you've got the rains starting. You know, so it's a complicated thing. Now, May is a possibility, but we tend to have the most allergens going on there at that time. In
Yeah.
the past, I wasn't able to. I mean, basically, I couldn't be out during those
Mm.
days because my autoimmune system couldn't handle it.
Mm.
My immune system can handle that. But I'm getting so much stronger now. I might be fine. So in the future, we can do April and May
Yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
do.
So
I
many possibilities.
I chose this particular window because that from about June 15th or so, that's usually when the pollen drops off. And then I had the strength to,
Yeah.
get through the seminar before the heat kicks in. It was a
Yeah.
very narrow window.
Yeah.
But going
Sure.
forward,
No.
that'll open up because I've clearly gotten a lot healthier. Right now, we have a lot of pollen in the air, but I'm not stuffed up. I'm clear. I feel strong.
Fantastic. Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you, Irene. I enjoy the conversation.
Yeah. Thank you. I have a lot of fun, believe me.
I hope maybe we'll put this up in Dropbox so you can review it or put it on the facilitator page. Or it's a lot of this conversation might be really helpful to put up on YouTube for people to reflect on.
Oh, yeah. I'm up for that. That's not a problem. Yeah. Any way I can help you,
All right. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you, Richard. See you tomorrow, love.